As a cinema, it's frustrating when your success is decided by things you can't control. Hollywood hits come and go. What stays the same are the amazing experiences you offer your customers. Whether it's an engaging and successful membership program, seamless seat upgrades, next-level food and drink, or extras like arcade games and bowling. But to do this well, you need a POS system that can keep up. Tapos has been developing cinema software for over 25 years. They know what it takes to run a successful movie theater, and they've created a solution that can match your boldest ambitions. Learn more at taposapp.com.
Our ambition, again, is to get to where we're doing 12 movies a year and being committed to exclusive theatrical window and to be in partnership with the theaters where they can kind of count on, this is the type of film we're going to bring, this is the audience that we're going to bring, this is how we're going to pre-sell, and kind of building in some cadence to that. I mean, it's a major part of our strategy.
This is the Box Office Podcast in our daily CinemaCon 2024 edition, brought to you by Tapos. Today is Thursday, April 11th, and we are recording from Las Vegas, Nevada, where myself, Daniel Uria, along with my colleagues, Rebecca Pauley and Chad Kenrick of Box Office Pro, we are covering CinemaCon 2024 from here. In today's episodes, we are going to be bringing you the highlights from studio presentations by Angel Studios, Universal Pictures, and Focus Features. And before I forget, Lionsgate as well. That's how packed today has been, guys. Yeah. It's going to be a long episode. And before we get into all of those highlights, I'm going to be doing a quick recap of a very interesting panel conversation that Puck News' Matthew Bologna had with a panel including representatives from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Kathleen Taft from Disney, but really it was a back and forth with AMC CEO Adam Aron, and wow, there were interesting quotes to get into. We'll be going into all those highlights shortly. But guys, before we get into that, Chad, it is a full schedule here for the final day of CinemaCon 2024. It's morning time as this episode launches. What do attendees have in store today?
Yeah, there's two sessions happening simultaneously at 8 a.m. NAC seminar, Cheers to Movie-Themed Cocktails, The Recipe for Success. Dan Hurley from National Amusements moderating that panel. The panelists there, Eric Carr, Universal Pictures, Brett Hoffman, Marcus Theaters, Dante Michael Riesman, Imagine Entertainment, Kurt Moody from Creative Promotions.
I love that. Well. It's only in Vegas at CinemaCon, an 8 a.m. panel on cocktails.
On drinking? I wonder if they have like a taste testing situation going on. Do they have samples? You know, or just keep on going. Don't go to bed. But if you're not the drinking at 8 a.m. crowd, if you're the give me loud noises and explosions, so I say away crowd, the ICTA, the Technology Association, also has a seminar at the same time.
Yes, the Additional Revenue Streams Family Entertainment Centers, moderator there, Jeff Kaplan of Sharp. And then the panelists are Brock Bagby of B&B Theaters, Teresa English, TK Architects, Alan Rowe, our sponsors here at Tapos, Morris Schulman Theaters, and David Wallace, Turfway Entertainment.
And that leads into a 10 a.m. Paramount presentation over at the Coliseum. We're going to be covering that in tomorrow's episode. After that, we've got Filmmaker Lunch. Who's in the Filmmaker Lunch program today at noon, Chad?
Yeah, John M. Chu. So he is the director of Wicked and the second
We'll be getting right movie. Into that in, I don't know, not a few minutes. We have a lot to get into this episode, but later in this episode.
We will be talking a lot about John M. Chu's Wicked Part 1 in the Universal portion of our review here. And then the last studio presentation at 2:30 p.m. Disney is going to be going out with the final studio presentation of the week. That about does it. There's parties, other things on the schedule on Thursday, but those are the main highlights. And guys, we got to dive right into this
I want to
situation
know what happened
here.
at this AMC panel.
You missed the AMC panel.
I wanted to walk the trade show floor. I need my snacks. You know, also, you know, it's where you talk to people. I don't regret missing it, but I do want to know what he said, because you were sharing on the group chat that it was pretty spicy.
It was a spicy one. It was interesting. I had a conversation with him, an interview with Adam Aron, the CEO of AMC, yesterday, and we'll have that in a couple weeks up on Box Office Pro. He said a lot of these things to me in that private interview that he ended up saying publicly in the panel today. So if you want a lot more detail on what happened, you can check the next edition of our magazine that is headed out to Cine Europe with that interview with Adam Aron, and we'll also have it on our website. But let's get into some of these themes because it was, I think, a very eye-opening conversation on where the CEO of the world's largest exhibition circuit sees the industry. And there's a quote here that basically set everything off. Adam Aron saying, quote, "The business model of exhibition has been broken for the last 4 years."
Well, the last 4 years, a lot of stuff happened in the last 4 years. So
Yeah. But let's go into what that means. What that means is basically what we all know working in this industry, right? The business isn't going to go back to 2019 levels within the 2024 reality.
So we're not going to go back to 16 plexes, 18 plexes.
No, we may go back in terms of like revenue, in terms of a $10 billion plus year. We're not going to hit those heights with the strategies that got us there before 2020. Where we have to rethink the strategies in practice, basically, to get back to those levels. Let's start with some of the observations that Adam Aron was sharing on what AMC has done over the past 4 years to stay in business, despite big challenges as a publicly traded company. AMC during this period, since the pandemic, has closed, I think the number was 169 theaters, while opening 60 new ones. Now, the new ones, those 60 new ones, are performing the 169 locations that they closed.
Like more than 100 more theaters. They're making more money than the 169. That's wild.
Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that AMC as a circuit took a very hard look on which houses were producing what in their circuit. What were the missed opportunities? So it's not just closing locations.
We're seeing that at Cinemark too. You have to take a look at the bottom line of the financials.
Yeah, you really have to assess these things. And AMC is making a concerted effort here to make sure that every location they have is competitive in today's exhibition landscape. And some theaters, maybe you realize you have to remodel. You have to put a lot of money into them. You have to completely renovate. And when you renovate them, are they going to perform the way they did? Using that data, AMC determined, you know what, we're better off coming in with 60 new theaters that we're opening.
Clean slate.
Clean slate of 60 new theaters, and closing these 169 ones that aren't working. So in terms of a profitability standpoint, of a revenue standpoint, that's what's going on. So when Adam Aron says that, quote, there's going to be a pruning of the fleet, that's what he means. He doesn't mean,
or there already has been. I mean,
I think there's going to be more. There's going to be. We're in the
Okay.
process of this, so it's not a situation. And I've seen this misquoted in the trade press already. So we do have to give this proper context.
Yeah.
Adam Aron isn't saying let's close theaters because we don't need them. Let's close screens because we don't need them. That is not the quote. We have to go into depth and detail on what he's saying. He's saying that the movie theater of today has to be competitive on a revenue and retail and even lease standpoint to survive. So he's not saying, I closed 169 theaters, I'm better off. He's saying 169 theaters weren't performing at the level we expect. We assessed that they weren't going to get there, so we opened 60 new ones.
The industry's different now. We're looking at more importance on family entertainment centers, on PLF, on expanded food and beverage options. I mean, I look at multiplexes I go to, and there was that era where everybody had the secondary concession stands, and now they're just empty.
That's
It's like
a lot of
the
empty
movie
room,
theater
exactly.
yesterday sometimes just does not fit today, and maybe or maybe not the cinemas have reacted to that.
Yeah, maybe getting a lease on a 25 screen complex isn't the best idea today. Maybe the ones you open are a little bit smaller, look a little bit differently, auditorium sizes, seating capacity, it's all changing. The multiplex of yesterday is dead. So that's really at the heart of Adam Aron's comments. And again, he's been misquoted extensively 24 hours after making those comments.
I don't think that's a particular. I mean, I mean, it is.
Yeah, it's a very. for people in this industry, we understand what he means. I think people outside the industry, you see the quote
I think
code
multiplex
without
equals
context.
movie theaters, and they don't understand like multiplex means
Yes.
something specific.
Right.
Yeah.
And even with his quote about pruning, he's talking about the greater exhibition landscape at large, not necessarily just AMC.
Not willy-nilly like chopping theaters.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we're seeing that. You have to realize what is going to appeal to the moviegoer of today. And there are some movie theaters of yesterday where that investment to increase the level of experience maybe isn't going to be the best use of money.
It's not a one-size-fits-all for everything. I mean, what people want from AMC is different than what people want from their art house. So,
Yeah, it's different approaches here. Now, if this system remains broken, as Adam Aaron is saying it is, he says that we need one of two solutions, right? We either need more movies from Hollywood to fix this broken system that just isn't working, or lower splits from the studios in exchange for that smaller window of exclusivity that exhibition was forced into during the pandemic. One of the two things has to happen for exhibition to remain viable.
So we're seeing a lot of conversation around things that are going to potentially, hopefully, plug that gap.
Now, one solution that Adam Aaron doesn't see as viable, at least for AMC, is bankruptcy. Now, I don't think anyone thinks bankruptcy is a solution, but it's something that many circuits have resorted to after the pandemic disruption, right? We've seen it from many big chains and even small to mid-tier ones. In Adam Aaron's view, bankruptcy, the positive thing is it gets you into a path where you can renegotiate your leases. The Cineworld situation, right? Where they didn't want to go through this, but at least they were able to renegotiate some leases and be in a better position moving forward. But that happens at the expense of your employees and your shareholders. For Adam Aaron, this just isn't a good deal or a good route to consider for the world's largest exhibition circuit. Another thing that he's not considering during this process of this broken business model, using his words, is considering selling off any assets, either domestically or overseas in the AMC fleet. He just doesn't see that as a benefit right now when, let's be honest, who's the buyer? Is anyone paying top dollar for movie theaters in 2024? We're not there yet.
AMC's branching out.
If they're doing the opposite, actually, because really the strategy here isn't sell theaters when what you're going to get back is going to be a low price. No, their strategy right now is be very, very careful in determining which theaters you acquire at a low price and try to avoid selling and not getting as much money for the assets you sell. So right now, for either in the domestic or international circuit, selling just isn't a priority for AMC. And it's telling because they've had a cash crunch over the past couple of years during the pandemic. They've had some scares in the stock market, but even through all that turbulence, they haven't sold off any of their assets, domestically or overseas. In fact, they've grown. They've gone out there and acquired strategic locations, from bow tie locations to arc light locations. They've grown modestly during this period. Now, the situation right now that we are seeing in this broken business model, according to Adam Aaron, is a question that Matthew Belloni posed, and saying like, hey, if the business model is broken and the United States, the domestic market, the US and Canada, is already mature, so it's not a growth market, can we say that North America is overscreened? And that's a fair question. That's a fair question. I don't think there's a simple answer to that. And I think there's probably competing viewpoints that are both right. Adam Aaron doesn't believe that it is. And he had a very good answer on it. He said, you know what? We hit record years in 2018 and 2019. We weren't overscreened in 2018 and 2019. Now, the flip side of that is
it's not 2018 or 2019.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, using his own logic is like, well, it's different now, right? So I think it's an open-ended question right now, you know, as to what happens. I think ultimately, and this is myself speaking, not Adam Aaron, I think he's right.
We're not going to go back to 2018, 2019.
No,
it's a different business.
And I think I wouldn't call the business model broken. I think it needs to evolve. It needs to be updated to the realities of today. I do think, and by the way,
we're seeing that happen. I mean, the windows have evolved.
And he's been very bullish in saying that he doesn't believe 2025 and beyond are going to be $8 billion years. So this year will be an $8 billion year. We know that, we're prepared, we're ready for that reality. But he has been very vocal in strongly saying you know what, this year's an outlier. We're going to be a lot closer to $10 billion or beyond domestically at the box office in 2025, 2026, and beyond. And I tend to agree with that. Now, that does potentially mean that the evolution that occurs is that the cinemas that remain standing are modern cinemas. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about because we go to movie theaters for a living here at Box Office Pro. And we know the difference between a location that a circuit is putting a lot of focus on, that is upgraded, that is modern,
and that they haven't touched since 1990.
Versus those, versus the ones that you know still have the old posters.
And we see what's happening. And we see what's happening overseas. That like every other chain does. You know, looking down the outline, merchandise sales. But we'll get to that. But yeah, that's we're seeing where the future of the industry is headed, not just in North America, but globally. Yeah, and it's a challenge, I think, for every movie theater in the world, because this is a business. And I'm going to use the numbers that Adam Aaron cited from AMC. This is a business that deals in very low occupancy rates in terms of filling up an auditorium, right? We've got hot periods, obviously Friday and Saturday nights, and we know that AMC is well aware of this to the point that they tried dynamic pricing last year and then abandoned it after the data didn't back it up. But it's an occupancy rate, using AMC's figures, between 15 and 20%. That's a low occupancy rate. Now, I mean, feast or famine, but 15-20%, if you average it out, is low.
That's low.
Yeah,
that's low.
Which he admitted.
Yeah,
that's low.
He worked, Adam Aaron worked in the airline industry for many years, and he cited a figure of 75% occupancy rate in the airline industry. We're well below that. So we have to find a model that works with a 15 to 20% occupancy rate. Huge auditoriums that aren't premium large formats, I don't think are part of that future.
You can't shoehorn the industry we have into the industry we maybe want to have in an ideal.
That's a great way of putting it. And another thing that you have to start looking at to make sure you're competitive in the future, something AMC has instituted, is a big focus on per cap spending, on spending from patrons coming in through your doors, right? Using Chris Johnson's words, the CEO of Classic Cinemas and recipient of this year's NATO Marquee Award, you're thankful for all your clients, but you're especially thankful for your clients who buy popcorn. And I think that's a formula that is shared by everyone in this industry. AMC has put a lot of focus on increasing that spend from customers after the ticket sale. And something that he said in this panel is that the concession spend per patron at AMC is up from $5 per person before the pandemic to $9 per person after the pandemic. That's nearly double, guys.
And we're seeing that across chains, too. I mean, checking in on the quarterly earnings report at the other, largest North American chains, Marcus, whether that's Regal, whether that's Cinemark, we are seeing those F&B per caps go up post-pandemic. Now, whether that's an issue of pricing has gone up or supply chain or, it's obviously a complex issue, but... it's definitely an industry trend. Yeah, and it's important once you realize what the profit margin of that F&B, food and beverage is. It's a massive profit margin. Of course, the ticket splits, you're lucky if you're a major circuit, you walk out with a 50% share on a ticket. But on concessions, the profit margin is 82% for AMC. So where do you go from there? I mean, what else do you sell in addition to concessions, in addition to popcorn like that? Where do you focus your attention and your energy? That's a great point, and I think that's something that the moderator of the session, Matthew Baloney, once again from Puck News, he had a great quote here that I wrote down. He said about merchandise sales beyond concessions. He said, "Quote: If I can get out of a Disney movie with my kid without him asking me to buy a toy before I leave the theater, it's a crime against commerce. If you can do it in a ride at Disneyland, you can do it at an AMC." And that's right. And they do it at international theaters, which have whole entire stores of merch at them. And Korea, I mean, that's definitely not some crazy imagining that we would see merch and, popcorn buckets. And we're seeing the industry go in that direction already.
And Adam Aaron made a good point there. In the last 3 years, they've gone from 0 to 54 million in merch sales.
That's crazy. 0 to 54 million. Merchandising alone post-pandemic. Yeah. That is one of the biggest growth areas that exhibition has in front of it.
Yes. And they're still kind of
that's
figuring it out.
That's a lot of Nicole Kidman quote T-shirts.
Yeah, that's a lot of, That is, by the way, you got me a nice Nicole Kidman quote T-shirt for
Onesie
my
for your baby. Yeah.
daughter. That's nice. Now, that was basically the main themes of that interview or that panel session. There were other people in the panel, but it was really just a conversation.
Yeah, what were the response? What was their pushback? Because I got to be honest, a lot of what I'm reading here, not having been at the panel, so only seeing it, written down in black and white, seems pretty reasonable.
It seems reasonable, but when the head of the world's largest exhibition circuit says things,
I know
there's a certain lightning rod quality to it. And again, I think there's been quotes that he said this week at CinemaCon that have been either purposely or just by sheer ignorance of the industry, misinterpreted by members of fairly influential press outlets. I was at a press conference, by the way, where a writer from a major trend, someone had to explain what a run was, what a theatrical run was. Don't get me started. This industry is there's headaches I have here with some of our colleagues, but I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus just quite yet. You got to wait for my memoir. Let's go into the studio presentations, guys, because there's a lot more to talk about. Now, we're going to be brief on Angel Studios here. We're going to go over basically some major points here because at the tail end of this episode, we've got an interview with Brandon Purdy from Angel Studios who will go into a lot more detail on the slate and go into some of those successes that made Angel Studios, I think, a force to be reckoned with. Because this is a company, guys, that a year ago had released 0 films theatrically. And by the end of last year, was the number 8 distributor in North America. They got on the map, and they did it by working hard, by engaging audiences, and working directly with theatrical.
And they had one big film that hit, but they did not only have one big film that hit. Like I don't think that you can say. I mean, I don't know if anyone could say that there's going to be a replication of The Sound of Freedom and the enormous success. But clearly, they're exploring different genres, and they're actually, but they are sticking with one thing that they did with Sound of Freedom that was bold. Sound of Freedom released over 4th of July weekend, competing with, I think it was Indiana Jones
and Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
And going forward over the next year, into 2025, all of their future theatrical releases are going to be timed to holiday weekends.
They don't want to tread lightly. They want to come in. They want to compete against the majors. They want to engage. They want to counter program. And I'm going to say, they want to eat the lunch of every major studio in town.
Which is interesting.
That's what they're going
in the context
after.
of that, when you look at like what they have coming out on, say, July 4th, and then later on we hear what Universal has coming out on July 4th, and it's like, okay, how is this going to square up? You know what
this reminds me of? Remember at that 2021 CinemaCon, Rebecca, where Patty Jenkins was like one of 3 filmmakers to show up, everybody else canceled.
And magically. She was really passionate about,
One thing she said that still sticks with me is she said, one studio out there has to go in and plant a flag for theatrical and say, we are a theatrical first studio, full stop, period. And audiences will flock there. Well, we have that now. It's called Angel Studios, and they're doing something with a faith-based audience that has always been overlooked, either from a content standpoint, in terms of like the films maybe weren't of a certain caliber to truly appeal to that audience segment, or from a major city standpoint that said, you know what, I don't think we really have to program them. You have to now. You have to pay attention now. And Chad, I want you to go over this slate here real quick. Let's go over that first title coming out on Memorial Day weekend.
Sight. It's a true story of Dr. Ming Wang, a Chinese immigrant who defies all odds to become a world-renowned eye surgeon. And it's about him setting out to restore the sight of a blind orphan.
Oh, nice. It's going to be a nice feel-good movie. And then we've got over the July 4th weekend. These guys don't realize that they doubled down.
I remember this title later in the day, Possum Trot.
Possum Trot. What's Possum Trot about?
Oh, well, it seems like they're definitely positioning this as their Sound of Freedom for 2024.
They presented it that way twice. Like, this is Sound of Freedom was about the awful things that happen to kids, and this is about the good things that can happen when caring people step in.
Yeah, it's about 22 families from a rural black church in the small East Texas town of Possum Trot who adopt 77 of the most difficult to place kids in the foster system.
That's nice. That's going to be a nice counter-programming over July 4th weekend, a family title. And then going over in Thanksgiving, the one title we talked about in the preview episode, the one we could name, tell us a little bit about Bonhoeffer.
Yeah, it's an investigation into the life of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who opposed the Third Reich. So kind of just a historical biopic.
He was part of my thesis, my history thesis. It was an interesting life. It was a cinematic life and fellow.
It looks like a cinematic film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And talking about cinematic films, I'm watching this one over Christmas. I like my action movies. I like my genre movies. This looks like a throwback to a 1980s action flick.
It does, yeah.
Tell me something about Homestead coming out on Christmas.
Yeah, Homestead is the survival of a homesteading family. They have like this big complex and that is taken captive by a gang of outlaws. It's also
like
a series as well. So
there's a streaming series
it's gonna
element
be a movie,
here,
and then it's going to lead into a series.
and they're good at this.
good at
Angel
that.
Studios is good at this because they've perfected that streaming to movie pipeline. That they've had that relationship before, so they're going to get that streaming series to sort of lead into this theatrical release of this action-themed Homestead coming over Christmas. Now, they'd also previewed a couple of titles on coming out in 2025, including Jacob.
Yeah, his only son, one of Angel Studios' previously released films, same writer-director here, and it's a biblical story of Abraham and Isaac, and we'll explore the lives of Jacob, Leah, Rachel, and show the part they played in God's plan of redemption.
There's an audience for these movies.
Yeah,
I really think there's potential here.
The way that Brendan Purdy framed talking about this movie, they intend this to be big.
They're not putting these out as like, hey, maybe we'll get a couple million
We
here.
intend this to be the highest grossing animated film of all time. You know
Good.
what?
I love that ambition. I love that ambition from Angel Studios. Now, they've got another one here called Young Washington. Did we find out a lot from that?
I think we got the title.
We just got the title.
We just got the title.
Yeah.
We'll find out more about that later. And then we had another animated film here, another animated biblical story here. David, I'm assuming based on David.
Yes.
Yes, from the Bible.
Yes.
The biblical David.
Yes, the biblical David. This has been 10 years in the making. I just looked up their website, and they have over $54 million raised of their $60 million total. So,
In terms of crowdfunding, they've already crowdfunded
Yes.
$54 million for this animated film. And this is a fantastic success story. I really wish these guys a lot of success here. We know that they were a little bit mired in the let's say the toxic fandom of an element of that Town of Freedom crowd that has nothing to do with Angel Studios itself or the people that work there, in the same way that there's a toxic fandom for the Joker movies coming out of Warner Brothers.
Right.
So we have to talk about
Phillips talked about that.
Right, yes, exactly. Todd Phillips, the director of Joker, admitted, hey, listen, you know what? Some fans got out of hand, things got dicey, exhibition stuck by me. What does Warner Brothers have to do with that element? It has nothing to do with that element. Mm-hmm. I think Angel Studios is in a similar position here. There is a difficult element in fandom. I said the word toxic. I mean it. A toxic element in a part of that fandom that has nothing to do with the films they're releasing and has nothing to do with the work they're putting out there to put these titles in front of audiences that want to see these movies. These fundraising numbers, these crowdfunding numbers, I think confirm that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now let's move over to Lionsgate, guys, because it was a big day of presentations. We're going to go...
A lot of titles from the Lionsgate.
A lot, and that's a good news because we really... Lionsgate has been on rebuilding mode for a couple of years, and that's something that Adam Fogelson, the chair of the Motion Picture Group over there, admitted. He said, quote, last year was about recovering for Lionsgate. And setting up our franchises back on their feet. Franchises like Saw, like John Wick, and Hunger Games. And they did that. They delivered on that promise last year. So I don't think anyone, after what Lionsgate went through as a mid-major, which is a really difficult place to be in this industry right now, Lionsgate doesn't have the ambition of staying a mid-major. Lionsgate has that ambition of being what it's been during different periods of the 2010s.
When you do
competing
Hunger
with the
Games
majors.
And Twilight, you want to get back to that.
You want to get back to that. And they aren't comfortable going back and saying, you know what, let's put out 5 horror movies a year, a couple action flicks, and call it a day. That's not the ambition here. Adam Fogelson...
They're in franchise building mode, which we hear from multiple studios across CinemaCon so far. That's
what they're in. They're in franchise building mode right now, Lionsgate is. That's something that Adam Fogelson was very clear about. He mentioned those established franchises that came out last year, Saw, John Wick, Hunger Games, mentioned new franchises coming out with some creative talents behind them. The Highlander franchise coming back with Chad Stahelski, the director of the John Wick movies, paired up with Henry Cavill, Superman. That's coming out in the coming years. Naruto, a title being developed by Destin Cretton. Is that how I say his name?
Daniel Destin Cretton.
Daniel Destin Cretton.
So this is now I have not watched Naruto or read Naruto, but I know something about Naruto, and that is if you are talking about wanting to build franchises, apparently it is very complex because there are multiple different series and versions of this show, but various looking this up, there are like 1,000 episodes of this thing. There are at least I see different counts.
A lot to draw from.
This is famously something that is very sprawling, and it's something that people grew up with. I'm just you're gonna see people do the Naruto run through the theater. Look it up. It's gonna be a thing. Gentlemen, the Naruto run is a thing among people who grew up with Naruto,
okay, so
there's a lot of people.
There's a viral potential here, and that's something to lean into. Let's start leaning into it now.
I know nothing else about this.
No, Exhibitor Marketing has to wake up to this now, in development. Guys, get your social strategy ready, get your marketing strategy ready.
But a Naruto, Chad, you're that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
A Naruto movie that was successful.
I think we're all looking forward to that. We've got more franchises here announced at the Lionsgate presentation. A reimagining of the Blair Witch franchise from the Blumhouse team. Are you guys a little excited, not excited about this? I don't remember what talent they have associated with it.
Blumhouse. I don't think they said a director.
So it's just a Blumhouse banner under it.
Yeah.
It's hot and cold. Blumhouse did, I think, interesting, I wouldn't say good, but I'd say interesting, which is sometimes better than good, job with the Halloween movies. I've been disappointed with how Blumhouse handled The Exorcist. Starting with Exorcist Believer. So I think the jury's out with where Blair Witch goes.
I mean, there already was a remake / sequel / whatever, a reboot from Adam Wingard in 2016. I saw it, barely remember anything about it, and that's my review of that one. Blair Witch might be, if it's not in my top 5 horror, it's in my top 10. I know that...
How old were you? Did you see it in theaters? How old were you when you was it?
No, it was VHS. I was not old enough to see it in theaters.
I snuck in. We're the same age, so I'm asking you. We were teenagers. I snuck in to the Regal UA Falls in Miami, Florida. And seriously, I think I bought a ticket for Austin Powers 2 or something, and I went right into Blair Witch. Love the experience, but it was lightning in a bottle, I think, at the time,
and it led to so many awful knockoffs that I think that has kind of tarnished its reputation looking backwards. But I rewatch it. It holds up. It is good. Yeah. And I am, I don't know about this, but maybe we'll see it next year. CinemaCon.
I think jury's out. I think Blumhouse has been hit or miss. We have to be honest with these legacy remakes. Now, another big franchise that Lionsgate is investing in is Monopoly, based on the board game. And someone who is very experienced working with inanimate objects made for children, associated with this project, Margot Robbie's Lucky Chap production company.
There was an audible reaction in the room when Margot Robbie's name was brought up. Yeah. It was
I think I might be mistaken. I have a weird memory from reading in the trades, maybe a decade ago. Was Ridley Scott associated with a Monopoly adaptation?
They've been trying to make
10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, all the money in the world, isn't that kind of
That's kind of like that, yeah. So we're excited to see what new franchises come from the Lionsgate team. Adam Fogelson saying that the goal for Lionsgate is that by 2025, 2026, the studio will release 3 to 4 tentpoles per year, in addition to the core of diverse genre slates that they have. And they have a little bit of everything, a lot of action and horror. We know they're not that expensive to make and can bring a big upside. I love genre movies, so the movies that I always go back to. So we're going to be going quickly through some of these just because there's a lot to go through today. Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to go through a quick sort of rundown for these first 3 titles that we have listed here, starting with The Strangers. Strangers Chapter 1 is the full title?
So, it's the third film in the franchise. There was the first, The Strangers. I didn't see it. I saw the sequel, which I didn't love. But this one, I mean, it's a home invasion type
And it's a prequel. It's a prequel, this one.
Yeah. People wearing creepy masks come into your home and try to cut you up for no reason.
All right, yeah, that's very simple. All right, that's coming out May 17th, 2024. There's another movie that's been long gestating in development here, Borderlands, a video game adaptation.
Yeah. Because Lionsgate, Adam Fogelson was speaking and introducing Borderlands about how for ages everybody thought that video game movies would not work. And we saw, like, at least financially, they did not work. It was the video game movie genre was considered like borderline cursed for a long time. Obviously, then you have Sonic the Hedgehog and Detective Pikachu, and now we have Super Mario Brothers, and that is no longer the case.
But tonally very different, guys. Come on, Sonic and Mario, tonally from Borderlands, different game.
And they started like production on Borderlands like right at that split where video game movies didn't work, and then they could. So I'm definitely curious. I'm curious by Kate Blanchett's presence. The trailer looks fun. Director Eli Roth gave a Terror Train shout out in
always reliable for like good deep cut horror shout outs. Eli Roth.
Though he did name check Prom Night, and not the Superior Prom Night, which is Hello Mary and Lou Prom Night 2. But we're not going to go into that.
We're not going into that. But we are going into the release date, August 9th, 2024. Finally, Borderlands hits theaters. And then the last movie in this trio that we're going to go quickly over, Christmas film. The best Christmas pageant ever, November 8th, actually. Originally slated for November 15th, moves up a week now.
Apparently based on an incredibly popular and influential book, according to how it was introduced in the slate. It definitely seems like it could catch on with that family audience leading into the holiday season. Not so much for family audiences, Guy Ritchie movies.
Yeah, who was a franchise of his own for Lionsgate, right? He's just a machine of witty action flicks. This movie is In the Gray. It stars Henry Cavill. Is this the one with Jake Gyllenhaal? Yeah, he's in there too. Yeah. So it's attractive men in an action movie from Guy Ritchie, coming out January 17, 2025. Henry Cavill actually here at CinemaCon and spoke a little bit about some of the swordsmanship he's doing in production for Highlander with Chad Stahelski. There's going to be a lot of swords action in that one. Yeah. He's just a very endearing actor. I have to tell you guys real quick.
He was talking about how he's seen all the Highlander movies, I've only seen the first one, and I consider myself fairly well versed, and he's a full nerd. Like that's a definite thing, and he's a big fan of turtles apparently.
I have to say about Henry Cavill this little anecdote. I was at the Lionsgate reception after their presentation today, and a number of actors came up, and we're doing the meet and greets with exhibitors. I was stuffing my face full of like hors d'oeuvres next to Rich Daughtridge from Warehouse Cinemas when I noticed Halle Berry standing next to me as I'm just like stuffing hors d'oeuvres in my mouth, and I'm like, oh, Rich, maybe this isn't the way we imagined meeting Halle Berry, but it's probably realistically the only way that Halle Berry will ever notice me. Hopefully not remember me by that. But in that reception, Henry Cavill was walking out, and as he's walking out, there's people taking pictures and everything. Before he gets in the elevator, he takes a quick second to stop and have a nice one-on-one conversation with a security guard working security. Yes. So Superman took a minute of his time. He didn't have to do it.
He's a class
taking a minute of his time to have that nice little meet and greet conversation with that security guard. That's the little bit of work, a little bit of extra work of those personal appearances that lead to ticket sales. Yep. That's that stardom intangible. The people that put in the work. Listen, I know we're all there for work. I know I'm not friends with any of these people. We're there because we're paid to be there. The stars are, I paid a lot less to be there, but we're all there for work. So when you take that extra minute of your time to build that personal connection, I'm sure that security guard is going to remember that and hopefully going to think, hey, I wonder what movie's coming out next.
You remember all of his movies.
Exactly, that counts.
On the flip side, last year, you remember when Jennifer Lawrence came on stage for No Hard Feelings? She was out there for 6 seconds, and she clearly hated every single one of them. And I think it made an impression. Like, honestly, I do.
Yeah, I don't know too much on that on Jennifer Lawrence's standpoint. I have done junkets with her, so she's been very graceful with her time. It's always difficult, right? Because these guys have to come out there, they have to look a certain way, they haven't eaten all day, people are taking pictures at them, staring at them. It's an exhausting thing to do. So it's not, I don't reproach anyone from saying, hey, let me get out of here, but taking that extra minute, I do want to single that out. And I think it was something really nice that he did. So we saw some footage from In the Gray. I found it interesting in the world of recent Guy Ritchie movies. There's one coming out real soon. The Ministry of, what is it?
Ungentlemanly Warfare.
With Henry Cavill and Isa Gonzalez also in the Gray.
Also in this
also
one.
in the Gray.
Now, In the Gray seemed to me, from what we saw, the footage we saw, seemed like a step up from the recent Guy Ritchie verse.
It looks more like a Man from U.N.C.L.E. type thing, and Man from U.N.C.L.E. was good. I
like that too. Yeah,
that was good.
And then we had an IP that has been dormant for a little bit. Iconic IP.
It's resurrected.
That's a good one. Tell us about The Crow, Rebecca. That's coming back.
I mean, this was a sensitive one, and I think you could tell that they were very famously. This was The Crow, the film that starred Brandon Lee, who was accidentally, of course, shot and killed while filming that film, and it's always kind of been considered to be untouchable for that reason and iconic. It was very clear in this Lionsgate presentation. Adam Fogelson was like, "We are not trying to take away from the film, from the Brandon Lee film. This is like an adaptation of the original graphic novel, which." The Brandon Lee film was different. They were very, I think, conscious of not wanting to be seen as disrespectful or stepping on any toes here. I mean, we're going to be seeing this one pretty soon, August 23rd, with Bill Skarsgård, who's having a bit of a moment.
Yeah, and that was originally scheduled on June 7th, actually. When we got to Vegas, that was a June 7th release. Moved to the end of the summer, August 23rd. Interesting footage there. Let's move on here to a horror movie from the master of crocodile horror, Alexandre Aja. He's directing Never Let Go, coming out September 27th, starring Halle Berry. She was obviously in attendance.
Executive producing the film, is her producing or executive. She's behind the camera and in front of the camera.
There we go. Yeah. We'll call it that. What were your reactions of Never Let Go? Well, first, can you just inform our listeners what we saw? What can we expect from this movie?
So the trailer is essentially kind of spooky in the woods.
There
are
kids
there monsters?
In there, right?
Are there not? It's like a mother and two kids, and something is questionably scary out there.
Supernatural in nature type of deal.
It very much reminded me of The Watchers, which is a trailer we saw from yesterday's presentation. I believe it was Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, it was Warner Brothers. I know, it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But you know what it reminded me of, actually, in this in nature with a supernatural element. A little bit of Quiet Place vibes, just a tiny bit, and that you have this paternal instinct, and there's children,
they're physically tethered to the house with ropes.
Something
bad happens if they get untethered.
This year, woods themed folklore, ambiguously supernatural, is this year's action heroes riding in tiny little cars through some sort of old city, which we saw in 2 trailers last year's CinemaCon.
I'm actually excited for this because I thought Alexandre Aja's, what was that crocodile? Crawl. Love Crawl. Crawl is one of my, I think, favorite horror movies of the last decade. It's probably my top 15.
I saw that for the first time on an airplane, and it still worked on an airplane.
So good. It was so good. I saw that in the Regal in Battery Park in New York with our colleague Guillaume Fillier, our CTO, who's now in Berlin. Had a great time at the movies with him. So that's coming out September 27th. Never Let Go. And then we had a surprise here. I don't have a release date for this. If you guys can start looking it up. Good Fortune from comedian Aziz Ansari, who was there in person and sold this movie to me very well.
Every year somebody goes rogue and just kind of starts harshing on exhibitors, but in a fun way. Last year it was Seth Rogen for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles making a joke, I think, about how every studio executive is named Josh.
Yes.
And this year, actually, Seth Rogen is in this film, directed by Aziz Ansari, who made comments about Adam Fogelson fangirling over Henry Cavill, which, to be fair, he was and who wouldn't, and said that something to the effect of, the exhibitors of the studio execs aren't back from the strip club last night.
Yeah, something to the effect of that. I can't confirm or deny.
He's like, there's an empty front row.
Yeah, where are those folks? It was a funny stand-up moment, and those are risky. We've seen a lot of jokes go flat at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace in these presentations.
Adam Fogel, hats off. He rolled with it.
Yeah, I think Aziz Ansari delivered in selling this movie.
Yeah.
How would you describe the plot here, Chad? Because on paper, I was like, ooh, I don't know, that's a hard sell. But then we saw footage.
Yeah, it's like Trading Places meets
Wings of Desire?
Yeah.
City of Angels?
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's
Keanu Reeves plays a guardian angel.
Yes.
This is a comedy.
Aziz Ansari is down on his luck. Gig worker Seth Rogen is a rich asshole. Keanu Reeves is an angel.
We're not selling this. And that's why Aziz Ansari did a really good job.
Much better job than
It's Keanu Reeves playing like he's an angel. It looks like such a cutely like childlike. It looks like Keanu Reeves being really really funny.
Yeah.
And then Aziz Ansari
Well,
and Seth Rogen, you expect them to be funny. So.
And we saw footage from it. So that's why I said on paper I wasn't really sold.
Right.
Aziz Ansari shows up, makes funny jokes, sells it to a certain extent, but I'm still like, I don't know what this movie is. There's an angel. And like Aziz Ansari, is a Trading Places thing. I didn't really get it. We saw an extended clip that worked. I mean, the comedy
worked. In the room. Yeah.
And it's something that Aziz Ansari said here in addressing the fact that there seemed to be less comedies being released by studios. And it was important for him, he said, to come back into the entertainment landscape with a theatrically released comedy. He said, comedies for theaters aren't dead. By the way, one of them just made $1 billion, referring to Barbie. I think he's right. I think I like that connection he has to this art form and saying, you know what, let's go in, let's find a studio, a distributor that's going to take a bet with this. Give me the reins to really develop this, and I'm excited to see this.
You have to push back on those hot takes when they pop up and they're wrong.
Yeah,
you can't let it go unchecked.
Yeah.
Now,
this one isn't dated yet.
It's not dated. Yeah. So it's early on. We don't know when it's going to show up in the calendar. But what we can say is, if I read about this movie, I'm not sure I'd be super excited about it. The footage got me excited about it, so it's going to depend on the marketing campaign. It's going to be a difficult marketing challenge for Lionsgate. And I think for exhibitors as well, because Lionsgate isn't the only one pushing this boulder up the hill. I think exhibitors have to work a little bit harder for this one because it could pay off. I think there's a payoff there for this comedy. Now, we've got 3 action movies to talk about here from Lionsgate.
All of them coming soon, so none of them with exact dates.
So you have to give me the quick description or plot. I'm the name of the movie, and you have to give me like an elevator pitch on what it's about, who's in it. The Killer's Game.
Dave Bautista's a hitman, thinks he's going to die, so puts a hit on himself. Turns out he's not going to die.
Has a little bit of like it's kind of like John Wick action comedy. An action comedy John Wick.
And it's giving Dave Bautista like a little romance thing, which he's charismatic as hell, so
he's been good. All right, so that's Killer's Game. Then we've got Flight Risk. Quick.
Flight Risk is Mel Gibson directing this film. It is Michelle Dockery, Mark Wahlberg, and Topher Grace on a plane. One's a federal witness. Mark Wahlberg's crazy psycho, and action happens on the plane.
All right, nice like old school throwback.
Speed on a plane.
Speed on a plane. There we go. He's beating you with this. That's much better. All right, now we got Shadow Force. Quick description.
Shadow Force by director Joe Carnahan, who already did an 18 movie. This is Omar Sy and Kerry Washington as a married couple who are spies and badasses, and they shoot things, and someone kidnaps their son. It looks very this trio of movies like Shadow Force, Flight Risk, and The Killer's Game. They seem like they're 1 or 2 steps up from the sort of like direct to DVD action movies that you would see on Redbox. That's how they feel. But
I like seeing those movies at the movies, though.
That's what I like to do.
I miss that. Yeah,
that's what we've been talking about. Is that like, okay, one of them, both of them, all 3 of them, they might hit. Like what? So you know what? Cheers to Lionsgate, because sometimes throwing spaghetti at the wall works.
Now I have a question to set up for you guys. We've got 3 action movies. We're gonna play a game here. Hook up, marry, kill. You got to pick one movie for each. Who do you hook up with? Who do you marry? Who do you kill? I'll go first. I'll give you guys a second to think about it. I'm going to hook up with Flight Risk because there's like an element with Mel Gibson, which there's a real talent there, but I kind of don't like some of the stuff in his past, but I'm attracted to his filmmaking.
Yeah.
I'm a hook up with Flight Risk. I'm going to marry Killer's Game because I think Dave Bautista is a talent. I think Dave Bautista has a lot of potential as a leading man. I'm going to commit to him. I'm going to marry The Killer's Game. And I'm going to have to kill Shadow Force.
See, I'm going to kill Shadow Force because in Shadow Force, if Shadow Force were my spouse and someone kidnapped me and tried to kill me, vengeance would be sought in my name.
Who do you hook up with? Who do you marry?
I mean, I'd marry. I'd marry the. I already forgot the title of it. That's what we're looking at here. Shadow Force. I would kill Shadow Force. I would marry Shadow Force. I would kill Flight Risk, and I would hook up with Dave Bautista in Killer's Game. Yeah.
Why not? How about you, Chad?
I would kill the Killer's Game not because the trailer looked bad, but because there was so much killing in it.
A themed kill, a themed thing.
Yes, I've never done that.
That was a standout for me of the trio, by the way. I'm going to go see the Killer's Game.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kill Killer's Game.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to hook up with Flight Risk. I'm interested in what's going to happen in that plane.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm going to marry Shadow Force, keep it all within the family.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Good trio there, good balance. I like it. And as we talk about this balance, let's go to the big ending here from the Lionsgate presentation coming out on June. It isn't even the ending. I forget because there's a surprise here. So, but it is one of the big feature points or big highlight points from Lionsgate. Coming out on June 6th. This movie's been delayed for a while. It's Ballerina. It's a spin-off from the John Wick universe. Now, Adam Fogelson, in introducing footage from this movie, admitted that there have been reshoots. And even he brought in John Wick director. Chad Stahelski came in and added some action set pieces. So they reworked this movie.
We went back in to make it more badass. Like, what's wrong with that?
Well, reshoots can go either way. Let's not forget.
Good.
Usually we think of reshoots as a warning sign. I will remind people of Star Wars Rogue One, the best Star Wars movie ever made. Went through extensive reshoots.
Well, best Star Wars movie ever made of
my hot take is period.
The Disney Star Wars.
My hot take is period. I'd say period.
I'm gonna forget you said that. And yeah.
Come on, we have one Mexican in the Star Wars universe. He's in one movie. They killed him off. I'm keeping that one.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
That's fair.
That's the one I go with. You guys can keep your Yoda and Yoda children. No way. All right, so we've got the reshoots here. So we don't know how that we don't know how to read that. Now, Ballerina is set between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4.
So they don't have to answer the fan question of did John Wick survive? Or spoiler. Is it a spoiler, John Wick?
I mean, I don't want to say because I don't know if the trailer's out yet, but there's a reason why it's set between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4. You can infer what you want from that. Now, we did see footage from Ballerina, by the way, and it confirmed something that I really was expecting to see from Lionsgate when addressing this film. This film is going to live or die based on how much of that John Wick DNA it has. If it can deliver action the way that the John Wick movies deliver action, I think Ballerina hits and has sequels and gives Ana de Armas her own franchise, which is, I think, great for everyone involved.
It looks like, you have that, always have that bit or two or three or four where John Wick kills someone with something that you should not be able to kill someone with. We saw some of that in the Ballerina trailer as well.
Shoelace, you call it. Yeah. Now, if it can deliver on that, I think this movie's a success. And I think that's why there were reshoots on this to a certain extent. But if it doesn't deliver on the action standpoint, nothing else matters in this movie. I don't think it'll work.
No point.
So with the footage that we saw was very clear to me. It's like, no. This is going to be as close to John Wick as possible. So that was basically the top line here on Ballerina. And I do want to move on here because in our preview episode, I basically set this up knowing that there wasn't going to be a lot of footage available or a lot of news available. And looking at the release date of April 18, 2025, the Michael Jackson biopic, Michael. There have been casting announcements, but I really felt that it was such a great opportunity, this CinemaCon presentation, for Lionsgate to plant a flag and say, this is that tentpole you need next year in April. Do you guys think it happened? Because Antoine Fuqua is directing. Chad, who's in this cast?
Yeah, so Coleman Domingo, who I love, is playing...
Oh, great. Yes, wonderful actor.
Playing Joe Jackson, Nia Long, Miles Teller, and then Jafar Jackson is playing Michael Jackson. And I don't know about you guys, but the glimpses that we saw, I almost couldn't distinguish from footage of Michael.
And it was, I mean, you can't imagine anyone playing... Michael Jackson. So they got him unknown. Like, they got a different or anything to play him in his younger years. I mean, the reception in the room seemed positive
because we saw footage. I think we've mentioned that we didn't expect to see footage.
No,
we saw a good chunk of footage here, and I think it killed. It did great.
Yeah,
you had it not seeing his face a lot. I think, which was an artistic choice and ones that make sense, but. they're gonna have to show his face. Like it might uncanny valley at some, like he looked like 98% like Michael Jackson, but that 2% kind of throws you off a little bit.
You know what? I think people are going to be listening to the music first and foremost on this one. Yeah. The music, according to producer Graham King, who introduced the footage, they have the rights. I think I heard correctly. 30 songs from Michael Jackson appear in this film. 30. So I think that's going to be the selling point here. Graham King even saying that they worked hard to recreate entire performances from Michael Jackson, dance moves and all. What we saw here, I think, might end up being this revelation of CinemaCon 2024. This is a major title on the map.
Some of this footage, I was like, is that archival footage? Like, did they just put actual... Right. And they had out to present the film, not Antoine Fuqua, the director, but Graham King on the production end of things. His credits include Bohemian Rhapsody, which I think was a good choice for them to bring him out. Like the music biopic genre over the last couple of years, it's been hit or miss.
Hit or miss,
Like you have your Rocket Man and your Bohemian Rhapsody, and then you have something like maybe I Want to Dance with Somebody or Respect, and then in the middle you have something like a Bob Marley One Love.
And don't forget Elvis.
Solid. Elvis is
now all of these artists pale, especially generationally, this generation, to the impact and influence globally that Michael Jackson had.
That means
this has potential.
The risk is I think even more because he's Michael Jackson. I mean, people are invested.
I think people are curious. whether you like him or dislike him. There's very good reasons for both.
He's an enigma. He's one of a kind.
I think that enigma, if you market this movie on it for the people that aren't sold, it gets them in. And the people that want to see it will see it. But the people on the fence, market that enigma.
And it does seem like that's what they're doing. The Michael,
Graham King pointed that out. He said it was going to be more kind of behind the scenes. You see the public Michael, but you haven't seen what's when he's off stage.
Interesting. And actually, internationally, that film is going to be distributed by Universal, right?
Yeah. We have
the next studio presentation.
The next studio presentation. That's a good segue. We've got Universal Focus Features here, the specialty division of Universal, coming in with the last studio presentation of the day, opening with a video message from Christopher Nolan thanking exhibitors for the success of Oppenheimer.
Him being at CinemaCon last year was one of my favorite moments because he was genuine in thanking exhibitors, and I mean the man loves cinema and movie theaters. We know that, and so I really like that even if he was not physically there, and because he doesn't have a new movie coming out, I like that they opened with that.
We had some statements from executives. I think that underscored the commitment that Universal has on exhibition. Of course, Universal being the number one studio of domestically of 2023. Executive Veronica Kwan Vanderberg saying, "We don't just say we believe in theatrical, we deliver on what we promise, and that is a diverse slate and original movies with franchise potential built into them." Let's start with the first movie that they presented coming out this July 4th weekend. If you weren't ready for Gentle Minions last time around, you have no excuse this year.
It's going up against Angel Studios. and their July 4th release, we have Despicable Me 4.
And we have additional voice cast members. So we know that Steve Carell plays the lead there. And we've got Will Ferrell, who's coming in here. Who else is coming in?
Will Ferrell's coming in, and also Sofia Vergara. Kristen Wiig is back.
Love it.
Because Chris Meledandri of Illumination on hand to present the footage, a man who has made so much money for so many people in so many studios and just made it like golden touch.
Good for him, man.
Golden touch. Yeah.
Now, we saw an extended sequence from this film. I have never seen either a Despicable Me or a Minions movie.
You have a kid now, so you're probably gonna.
Don't jinx me. Don't jinx me. Stop. Stop. We have a lot of Murakami to get through before we get there. That is TBD if I ever watch one of these. But what were your reactions? Because I was typing on purpose during this.
I thought it looked cute. I've never seen any of them, but
Yeah, I mean,
it was like it's kind of had a spy like Mission Impossible
heist scene.
All right, more of the same. That's fine. Don't mess with that formula. It makes money.
It's gonna make a ton of money.
We're not the type of people that are gonna give you good insights on
every movie does not have to be for every person.
No, not at all. But you know which movie is for me?
Yes,
I think for all of us.
All of us. I'm excited to see Twisters on July 19th.
I was already
2024.
excited, but now I've said this for there should be more weather movies. We need more weather movies. We
With
need more
actual
disaster
weather,
movies.
remember Geostorm came
Geostorm.
out?
I like
and there was
Geostorm.
no Geostorm.
There's no Geostorm. You gotta get
Don't
us a
call it
Geostorm.
Geostorm and don't put a Geostorm
You got
in.
Twisters in this movie. You got Twisters on
We
Twisters.
saw the Twisters. We can confirm there are Twisters and Twisters.
Director Lee Isaac Chung coming out and talking about shouting out Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, the original film. I love anytime Bill Paxton's a legend. You liked the Jan de Bont shout out.
I love Jan de Bont.
Of the original
Jan de Bont,
Twisters.
a filmmaker, director of Speed and Twister. He is a filmmaker that should be talked about more. He should get a Letterboxd Generation revival one of these
I think
days.
it's going to happen.
But so what can we expect here? Because this movie has Glenn Powell starring
King
in
of
this thing.
CinemaCon. He was here for Top Gun Maverick. He was the Top Gun Maverick actor who showed up. I think he got an award.
Yeah, the Star of Tomorrow, I think. And now it's Tomorrow because he has his own summer blockbuster that he's putting out
He's
this
a
name.
charmer.
Yeah.
I think, and we talked about this with Furiosa and Anya Taylor-Joy in the Warner Brothers episode that we had, I think, yesterday. It seems ages ago. But we spoke about, what does it take to become an A-list star? Because I think Glenn Powell is a star. We can say that.
Yeah.
But I think to be an A-list star, if you come out with a big budget studio picture over the summer and you have top star billing and you deliver on that nationally and globally, for me, you can be a great actor. You can be an interesting actor. I love Robert Pattinson to death. He doesn't need to do that for me to love him. That's okay. But to be that type of A-list actor.
Some of the lines, like in the Twisters trailer we saw, it looked amazing. Like he does like a cheesy, cocky, like rodeo rider / tornado hunter.
Influencer.
Influencer.
tornado
and
influencer.
I'll be damned if he did not make it work.
And this is the sort of movie that if this hits, for me, this is the sort of movie that pushes him into stardom. And we've been saying this for a couple of episodes now. Sydney Sweeney's next.
Yeah.
His co-star in Anyone But You. And I think the actor's strike really derailed a lot of that momentum in promoting that film or in being able to shoot something and come up afterwards. So Glenn Powell is really well situated after the success of Anyone But You and Top Gun Maverick.
Capitalize on that.
To capitalize. And unfortunately, it breaks my heart because of the actor's strike, we don't have that Sydney Sweeney. She picked Immaculate, and I'm really happy she did. Small, low-budget horror. She's putting a ton of effort into it.
It's gonna happen.
She's one role away from it, but I think this is the one for Glenn Powell.
Speaking of movies that hit or things that hit or things that are being hit, someone chucked a giant a rubber blow up cow at Anthony Ramos. Like the shtick was like confetti and it worked.
It worked. Yeah. God bless him.
I'm super excited.
Well,
for
talking
Twisters.
about people chucking things at you in a movie theater, I'm watching this in immersive seating. When you think about immersive seating, D-Box doesn't have the that's more motion, but for the ones that do the wind, you got to crank that up you
to
get
11.
100. But even if you don't want the wind, because I have to be honest, I think the wind is going to add to this movie. I don't always love the wind and sense effects. Actually, I think there's a function where you can take the wind and water off. So that's why I'm saying immersive seating. I think D-Box is going to be a fantastic experience for Twisters. If you have a D-Box auditorium near you, get into that pre-sales.
I've only experienced D-Box in little bits and pieces at CinemaCon.
It's great. I think 4DX is another natural experience with it because if you want that extra element of the water and the wind, they've got that. They've even got fog machines that I think are going to be fun. You've got Luma 4D, you've got MX 4D. Immersive seating here. It's not for every movie. But for the movies that it's for,
it worked.
It works so well.
You know what it worked for? Geostorm and Hurricane Heist.
Really? You went to see those in immersive seating? Oh,
Geostorm, again, you can't come back from not actually having the storm,
yes.
But 4DX improved the experience.
Good. So I think we're all excited to see that movie. And let's go from Twisters to a genre that is near and dear to Rebecca and myself.
Near and dear to Universal.
Yeah. Universal horror. Actually, near and dear to Chad. Chad, we've done legacy work with Vincent Price. Yeah. So I'm sorry for forgetting our Vincent Price expert here. And Universal.
Near and dear to moviegoers who buy movie tickets because horror has been. They spent a lot of time. Universal did in their panel. They had a whole montage of Universal horror. They didn't have any Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, actual OG Universal
Yeah, I
monsters,
wanted some of that in there.
which
but
I thought
yeah.
was weird, but I'm on. They're doing sequels coming up to, I think, two. Fair to say, surprise hits of the last few years.
Yeah.
Definitely, like Megan got traction from the
And that
trailer.
has a release date in 2025.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's, was that announced before this? There's a sequel.
No, that was-
So that was breaking,
officially
revealed.
Yeah.
A sequel to Five Nights at Freddy's.
They
It's
did
not
not-
dated yet.
They did not say whether it would be day and date or exclusively theatrical. Of
I
course.
hate to say it, it didn't matter last time. It
I
made a
know,
ton
like
of
it
money.
still made $80 million for
And,
a day and date.
I'll be very open about this policy. I don't care about day and date if everyone makes money,
Yeah.
but if it's going to cannibalize theatrical, guess what? I don't like day and date. So in the world of if they put this on Peacock same day, as long as we get big ticket sales, I'm not complaining. I'm not at all. Let's
Six Nights at Freddy's coming.
Six Nights,
It's
that's what
not
we're
called
doing.
that. It's not called that.
let's look at those horror titles coming up from Universal. Recently pushed back from October 24 to January 17, 2025. Wolfman from director Lee Wanell. There's a footage reveal here. It's interesting. I mean, this one's not for me, but what did you guys think about it?
I like Lee Wanell.
He
I
did
think
the
he's-
Invisible Man remake that came out like right before the pandemic, and it was
Yes.
it was really good.
Yeah. So it's kind of picking up, talking about the legacy monsters.
And that was something that I think was mentioned in the intro to this film, is that this is a reimagining, like Invisible Man was, of an original concept, of that old concept in a different way. It didn't feel like they weren't trying
Modern.
to redo.
Yeah, a modern
you know,
take.
yeah.
And then we have on September 13, 2024, Speak No Evil. That's an English language remake of the 2022 Danish film that was very well received in the festival scene. Now, I haven't seen it. Have you guys? It's on my to watch list.
This escaped me, but
I'm
no.
probably gonna rent it on transactional VOD. That's a mouthful. Am I the only person that like buys $5 rentals on Amazon? No, there's other people.
Yeah.
It's both of us. Good. Two of us. Shout out to our friends at Fandango. So that's coming out September 13th.
Cotton Eye Joe needle drop in
In the trailer, right?
in the trailer, and Universal earlier in the presentation did Rickroll us as well.
They did.
Yeah.
So that's coming out
Friday
September
the 13th.
Friday the 13th, September 13th, 2024, the release date for the U.S. remake of Speak No Evil. Let's move on here to the specialty side of the presentation. Focus features, starting out with some footage. The trailer's out there. I saw the trailer in theaters. Back to Black, coming out May 17th of this year. Again, in the musical biopic world, I think this can go either way.
Chad, did you see there was some footage? There was a clip from a scene floating around on social media that
No, I didn't see this.
it was not great.
Not great? Oh, okay.
But I mean,
Wait, no, you have to let the cat out back. What happened?
it was just. It just seemed like it was an Amy Winehouse like caricature. It was odd.
Oh,
It was
okay.
odd.
So the social reaction
Has not been
great.
Yeah, okay.
So that's something to factor in. Hard to tell from the footage we saw, but I think the one movie that we were all really, really excited about was The Bike Riders from director Jeff Nichols. Motorcycle drama / thriller with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy.
Talking about, I mean, is Austin Butler, has he broken the Sydney Sweeney,
I
Glenn
think
Powell?
if he hasn't, this
is
Yeah,
like-
well, I think after Elvis, you know what? Elvis
he went
was
right
so
to the top,
good.
and then like
It was one of those movies, Elvis. If you get that role and ace it, you're there. Kind of like Henry Cavill, right?
Well, that's like
so
with
he
the
was
Michael,
Superman. He aced
Michael
it. He
Jackson.
did well.
Like if you ace Michael Jackson,
right? You'll get there.
But I think the question was, can he do anything beyond Elvis, right?
and then he went and
well,
did
we saw
Doom
him
too,
in
and
Doom Part
then
Two.
Yeah, bald Elvis stabbing people in like outer space coliseums.
And
that was
now-
awesome.
You
He was
have
great
him
in that.
in the Bike Riders, and he's going head to head with like tortured masculine cheekbones and weird accents against Tom Hardy, and he's like the champion of that.
Yeah.
and
Right,
also,
right.
he's holding his own. This is one
like James Dean vibes from him in this
Right?
movie.
Yeah.
Cheekbones are insane on this one. Jeff Nichols, Mud Take Shield. I really like his work, and this is something that in the CinemaCon issue of Box Office Pro magazine with Angel Studios on the cover, we have a state of the art house panel and with art house distributors, and pretty much universally they were like, Bike Riders is one we're really pumped for. It's coming out in the summer, which is unusual for
June
a specialty
21st.
film.
Now there have been specialty films that come out in that window,
But it's
if
not,
I'm not
so
mistaken.
much recently.
Not recently, years ago. That Jennifer Lawrence one Winter's Bone came out over the summer, and that was great. I think that
And then
performed
they
really
all
well.
started like clustering around awards season because of the awards campaigns.
But
right?
there's potential there. I think Focus knows what they're doing. We know Lisa Bonnell, who's a veteran of both exhibition and distribution. If she's really, really, really good at one thing, is picking release dates. I think she might have landed on a really good one like this.
I liked this trailer before, but like seeing it on the big screen, it really worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming out in late June. We also had timed for right before the presidential election in the United States. If you want succession, intrigue, and drama, what better than going with a papal succession thriller starring Ralph Fiennes, directed by Edward Berger, who follows up the success of All Quiet on the Western Front, the Netflix adaptation. I thought that movie was quite good. I didn't know what to think of Conclave on paper. I saw the footage. I saw the release date. If they can market something based on all the headaches around the election, I think they got something.
Yeah, it's like the infamously shrouded in mystery what happens when one pope dies and they have to pick another pope. Last year we had a series of the Pope really had a pop cultural moment. We had the Jude Law Pope. We had the two popes.
The two popes. Yeah.
We had one pope.
What was the Netflix one with Anthony Hopkins?
We had one pope, two pope. This is no pope because the pope's dead. Sorry, I had to.
We had the one pope movie with a Brazilian director. I think it was Medeiros.
Yeah, that was the two popes.
That was the two popes.
Yeah.
I really liked that one. Mm-hmm. In the world of pope movies, you can either go horror or drama.
Jude Law, he was like the hot young evil pope.
I want this drama.
This one is a lot of people competing to be pope, and there are bad things involved.
Yeah, if they make it like a little bit of like battle royale,
it looks like a very actors movie. Like you got Ray Fiennes in there, you got John Lithgow.
Stanley Tucci was in there.
This can be one of that near award season movies that break out. I just hope it gets enough of a runway.
I can see
screens.
I can see kind of like Menu vibes, honestly, a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, I think going from watching Anya Taylor-Joy eat at a restaurant to watching Ralph Fiennes pick a pope, I think it's a big ask. I think if I'm spending 2 hours on something, Anya Taylor-Joy and cheeseburgers probably wins.
I don't know. You were if you were a young woman, young teenager growing up, like this is the cavalcade of or the conclave rather of like character actors who you would like have a crush on as a young like.
Ralph Fiennes was on that list.
English patron, come on now.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. There's an appeal there. Let's move on here because we've got a title that I think we're all super excited about from director Robert Eggers, one of my favorite directors working today.
I'm so glad that they're really like they're Robert Eggersing. They're really like he has a name at this point.
Yeah. God bless him, and because we need him to have a name at this point because he swings for the fences every time. He takes risks. Some risks I love, some risks like The Lighthouse I don't, but it doesn't matter if I don't like The Lighthouse because it's different. And that's all I'm asking for you as a director. Give me something that keeps me on my toes. He always does that. Coming back with another horror title, Nosferatu, built here in the presentation, and I think this is going to be the marketing line from Focus Feature. Not your father's Nosferatu, but I have to admit, guys, I like both my father's Nosferatu and I like my grandfather's Nosferatu.
In the trailer,
I like both Nosferatus.
But I love that they're picking up on the Color Purple marketing campaign that then went to Mean Girls and is now
and now here, you're
Nosferatu.
just recycling it, regardless
This
of genre.
one's not a musical.
Yes, let's be clear. Robert Eggers Nosferatu, not a musical. It's not. They're not tricking you, as far as we know from the footage we saw.
I don't
not
know.
a musical.
Maybe I don't know. Lisa Bonnell, get in touch with us. We want to know if this is a musical or not. No, from the trailer, like it did look like your fathers and your like it's a period movie. Like it,
homage to those.
It didn't look like they were
both
trying to like, we're gonna mix it up and have them do like. Young Nosferatu, but like I don't know, he's an influencer or a TikTok star or something.
No, there were winks to that legacy. You had the prevalence of rats that play a big role in Werner Herzog's version. And there's actually, you know, if you're interested in that version, there's a funny anecdote on what happened when shooting all those rats in those scenes for Herzog. And there were winks in that chiaroscuro cinematography that I think harken back to
German
more now.
expressionism.
And I'm very excited. There's a legacy to these titles. And again, it's one of those, you have to be very confident in your abilities as a filmmaker to say, hey, there's been 2 iconic classic versions of this. I'm gonna try my hand at it, and I'm excited. I like that ambition.
Playing in this film, playing the character of wait for it, Hutter. Playing Hutter, we had Nicholas Hoult, who was in a different Dracula movie last year. He was in Renfield. That did not do well. I'm glad he's getting another crack at it because I think he's a good fit for the material.
Yeah, he definitely has the look for it. So we're going to play a game here again. We've got 4 titles, slight different variation here. Hook up, marry, kill, or all of the above. Hook up, marry, and kill in
and
that
then
order.
kill undead.
For the 4 Focus Features titles here, I'm going to start because I have to. I'm going to hook up with the Bike Riders because all those high cheekbones, why wouldn't you? I think that's a good start. In terms of marrying, I have an undying eternal love for the Nosferatu property. I am going to marry Nosferatu. I am going to go ahead and kill Conclave because it's about death already. And I'm going to do the entire cycle to Back to Black because I think it's fitting of Amy Winehouse because she did go through that cycle. All right, Chad, you're up. What are you doing?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. I think I think I'm going to hook up with Nosferatu because their tagline there at the end of the trailer was "Succumb to darkness."
Nice, and you will succumb yourself for that. Yes.
That's very Crow-ish.
Yeah, I like it.
I think I'm going to marry the Bike Riders because it looks like one of those films that I'm just gonna love
And rewatch.
forever. You know?
Yes. Okay.
Conclave. I don't know. I think I'm interested in maybe doing a little bit of both with Conclave.
All right. So
and then
that's
I'm probably gonna kill Back to Black.
The footage didn't do it for you, Rebecca. You're up.
Yeah, Back to Black. I'm not. Jury's out on that one, but if I have to,
you're gonna kill it off. So that's out.
Yeah,
that's out. All right.
But I would hook up with the Bike Riders because I think the trailer showed pretty well that being married to the member of a motorcycle gang would suck.
That wouldn't be fun at all. No.
So yeah, hook up there. You know what? I would marry Nosferatu.
It's eternal. It's a bond that lasts eternity. That means you do the cycle with Conclave. Why not? The papal succession.
Why
not?
You
Papal thrillers.
You got a lot of good fashion going on there.
And we go from talking about Focus Features to talking about the DreamWorks animation side of Universal.
Such a fun
Awkward
transition
segue.
from Nosferatu to Kung Fu Panda.
Yes, that is what happened at the presentation.
Yeah.
We went from watching footage of Nosferatu to seeing Jack Black voice Cartoon Panda.
A little Kung Fu Panda 4 victory lap. Not mad at it.
Not bad. So they've got one title coming up on September 20th. The Wild Robot. Rebecca, what can we expect from this movie?
So you've seen this, am I?
No. I have seen Robot Dreams from
That's
Neon.
what I'm confusing.
And
with.
that is like on top of my best of the year list right now.
So this one it is based on a famous children's book, a very well-loved children's book. It's about a robot voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, who was on hand with along with the director of that film, Chris Sanders. It's the robot is like abandoned or marooned on an island only with animals, and the robot has to kind of discover her purpose and adopts a little baby goose, a little gosling. It looks like from the trailer, it has serious vibes of kind of Iron Giant, which is one of the best animated films. Yeah. It looks like it's gonna make me bawl like Iron Giant, make me lose my
Still haven't seen it. That's on my list of, again, films I will watch with my child eventually.
Yeah.
So once again, Despicable Me and those Minions, I love what they do for the industry. They're on the back of the queue.
And the look of this film, the look of the animation, he described it as a mix of like early Disney and Miyazaki Scary Woods, but like if it was done by Monet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good.
That's a good shout.
That's a good way to
that's
get
a good
the
pitch,
film
right?
nerd parents in there.
Yeah, not bad. That's coming out, as I mentioned, on September 20th, and the presentation, as expected, from Universal closed with footage reveal and some of the cast from Wicked Part 1. 2 parts in this Broadway musical adaptation. First one coming out on Thanksgiving. We had stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo
Which, by the
show
way,
up.
they started with Jeff Goldblum, and then they
Yes.
they
Yes.
I was like, they're not going to get Ariana Grande to show up, are they? And they did. They're going all out. They're
Holy
putting
Trinity
budget
here.
into this.
Yeah.
Erivo, Grande, Goldblum.
There you go.
Yeah.
Apologies to producer Platt. You know, he's the Broadway.
Yeah, Mark Platt.
Mark Platt. He was also there.
Yes.
Yeah, we should have
apologies to him for the
something that Mark
animating
Platt
him.
said that I found very interesting is that he always thought of Wicked as a film first.
Yes.
And had to be convinced to try it on Broadway, which is wild because I think it's a lot harder to get something on Broadway than it is to get a movie. Now, Chad, you have a wide experience in the acting world. You're a big theater fan. I know you're in touch with this community. I know there's a lot of anticipation riding on it.
There's a lot. I mean, this is like they're singing live on set, right? Is that part of what?
Yeah.
That's tough.
There's
to
a
get
lot of
right.
talk here. You're seeing little bits of footage from the last 2 CinemaCons.
Right.
Where are you on this title compared to where you were last year?
Right. Okay. So last year, that featurette that they showed talking about 9 million hand-planted tulips and all the stuff they showed practically, I was just so excited to hear some of the songs, to see some
They
footage.
mentioned that in like the Beetlejuice thing as well. Like this is
Yeah,
practical. We're building stuff.
That's a big stretch.
But then the trailer for Super Bowl, I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of CGI here. But now seeing more today, seeing more of the performances, which we really hadn't seen before, I'm back where I was.
We didn't
last
see really
year.
any singing.
So we lost you a little bit with the Super Bowl,
The Super Bowl
trailer kind of
lost
scared
me
you a little bit.
Yeah, and now I'm back.
But that's so interesting because we get to see things that nobody else gets to see outside of the industry in this event. Everyone's connection to Wicked right now is still that Super Bowl trailer that alienated you as a fan. You're going to go watch it regardless.
I mean,
You're still that ticket, that pre-sale's there. It's done. For you and your friends, it's done. You're going. But you were apprehensive after the Super Bowl trailer. Now they recovered you with what you saw today. God, I really hope we get to see some of this.
They were going all out.
in the
I mean,
public.
they had little light up tulips that had some sort of connected to a sensor that made it light up different colors. I mean,
It was an immersive experience in the presentation.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad to hear that your reaction to what you
and
saw today was positive.
Yeah, truth be told, when I walked in, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but costumes and props from films, I'm a huge nerd.
Oh,
so when
I didn't
walked
know
in
that. You
and
walked
saw
in,
the
you were in
costumes,
heaven,
I'm like, okay.
So we have to tell our listeners what welcomed everyone in the Coliseum as they walked in.
Yes, costumes and props from the film. Pretty much the whole cast had a costume represented. So
yeah, in the lobby of the Coliseum. It was really cool, and I'd like to see a little bit more of that. You missed that?
How did you miss that?
How did you miss it? You just made a beeline to the press row. It was right there. It's really cool, and I think it's something I'd like to see more here.
Yes,
moving forward, a
And
little bit more
hopefully,
costumes. You know where you see this actually
in the movie theater lobbies.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say that. The
Yeah.
AMC Lincoln Square does that a lot. Now, of course, that's one of the most important movie
cinema,
theaters in the U.S.
The
but they do
Cinepolis
that a
on
lot.
23rd Street that is now no longer RIP.
They used to
did
do
it a
that
lot.
too.
Yeah.
I like that. Put costumes. It doesn't have to be the original, obviously. Put a costume in the lobby. Engage with fans that way.
Yeah.
You know, the one sheet doesn't do it justice. And what you're saying about that drew you in as soon as you walked in.
Yeah.
You got excited in that lobby.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have to do that. I'd love for Universal to start that early marketing campaign. So yeah, you can have a poster, you can have a trailer, but imagine going into seeing a movie over the
Those
summer,
costumes
right?
look
Ahead of
nice.
Thanksgiving. And you've got costumes there in the lobby for this movie. People getting excited. People taking selfies.
Yeah, because then that's going to go on social.
Yeah.
That's going to go
Yeah.
out there.
It's
It's
a-
going to help.
It's a
their
good note for
marketing,
Universal, and I mean, in our preview episode, talking about what are the movies that maybe need a little lift in terms
Yes,
of
I was
marketing
gonna say, yeah.
for Universal. It was Wicked for us, not because obviously it's a hugely popular franchise and it doesn't need to prove its worthiness to be made into a
You're
film.
right, it has to prove it twice. It has to prove it
two very
twice.
expensive
A
films.
year apart, yeah.
Two very and like if the first one
Really
doesn't work, they're already committed to doing the second one a year later.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel better about this, like you, Chad, than I.
Yeah.
And that's right. I think it's important you say that, Rebecca, because it's a concern we have, not because the IP is obscure or we have issues with what we've seen, but just because, as you say, it's two very expensive
big
musicals
movies are big risks,
coming
which is why we
out a
need
year
mid-budget
apart.
films.
Yeah, it's not too early to start marketing this. And I love that idea that you mentioned, that you were excited as soon as you walked in, you saw those costumes. That's low-hanging fruit in terms of exhibitor marketing. We have to take advantage of that.
So Universal, you just take care of those costumes and then you ship them out to theaters and they'll get them, back.
There's ways you can do replicas. There's ways you can work around this, right? I mean,
You have like 18 bazillion hand-painted tulips. Surely you can send some of them.
Yeah, spend something on our lobbies. Well, guys, thank you so much for this supersized conversation on the release slate. We went over Angel Studios, Lionsgate, Universal Pictures, and Focus Features. And now we're going to go back to the beginning of the episode and give you a little bit more on that Angel Studios slate with Angel Studios executive Brandon Purdy going into all of the Angel movies hitting your screens this year, and some of that adventure, that wild ride that the studio has gone through, from going from 0 theatrically released films at the start of 2023 to ending 23 as the number 8 distributor. That's coming up right after the break. And we are back here on the Box Office Podcast at CinemaCon 2024 with a very special guest. We've got Brandon Purdy, the Executive Vice President and Global Head of Theatrical Distribution at Angel Studios. Brandon, it's your second time here on the podcast, but first time during CinemaCon week. Exciting. You guys had, by the time this episode airs, you guys would have had already your first CinemaCon slate presentation at the Coliseum.
We're super excited to have this slot. Last year, at the same time, at the same breakfast, we presented Sound of Freedom, just a couple minutes. Like we just talked for 2 or 3 minutes. So going back and having the entire time to present our slate, going back with a slate, it's really exciting. Plus, I mean, the biggest thing for me going back is I just want to have kind of a moment to celebrate with the theater owners. The way they supported us for Sound of Freedom, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Like they just totally got behind us and we're all in. And so I think most of all, I'm excited about that.
And if any of our listeners remember, we did mention Sound of Freedom being the best surprise story, the best feel-good story for theatrical exhibition of 2023 here at Box Office Pro, because it really was. We're talking about a grassroots film in what was, frankly, I mean, I think we can agree with this, Brandon, an impossible release date. You guys were sandwiched between Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford with a small independent film, and you beat both of them. You ate their lunch, and then you took it overseas, did fantastically well. Congratulations once again, and it's great to have you guys here back in Vegas, back for CinemaCon. I do want to talk a little bit about last year's CinemaCon, because that's when I first heard about what you guys were doing here at Angel Studios. I think a lot of our colleagues in exhibition got that introduction from last year's event. Could you take us back to that breakfast and to your experience at CinemaCon last year and how that influenced your strategy in 2023 that was a turning point for the company?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd have to start with the fact that I've been going to CinemaCon for, since it was Show West, 20 years. And it's probably been the most important thing to keep me in the loop in my career, to kind of understand what's going on with the market. But when we acquired Sound of Freedom and we chose the release date, I cannot remember. I mean, it was months. It was like 3 months maybe before the release date. And CinemaCon was right around the corner. It was in a couple weeks. And so as soon as we made that decision for July 4th, I was like, all right, this we have to take this to the theater owners at CinemaCon, and we have to sell everybody on this date where huge franchise films have been slated for, I think it was over a year or something. Anyways, they had been slated. They were rooted in that date. And so, yeah, and then we chose to kind of go on the Monday before the July 4th. So we're sandwiched between a Sunday and a holiday. Anyways, but trying to get theaters on board CinemaCon I don't think we could have done it without CinemaCon, because we were able to show our trailer at the breakfast, but we were also able to just meet back to back to back to back with the big chains, the small chains, the mid-size, and just talk about kind of what makes Angel special, what facilitates our ability to be able to pre-sell, and kind of explain our pay it forward model. And man, the theaters gave us a lot of dates, and then luckily we were able to pre-sell into it aggressively. And then they just kept adding and adding, and they held onto the film forever. So yeah, CinemaCon was like, there is no July 4th win without CinemaCon 2023.
And that's great to hear. And it's fascinating to learn that the pay it forward model, you pitched that alongside the film. It was a combo package. You knew this was your strategy moving forward. How did that land? Because when I first heard about it, I was like, whoa, this is a big innovation. I think there were colleagues in the press that still don't get it, that are still trying to put the pieces together. But it's not that difficult once you realize that it's something that Angel's been doing for a while now.
Yeah. So I mean, it is a core part of Angel's success. Long before jumping into the theatrical space, have used it on their their TV shows that they've put out and other projects. We actually launched Pay It Forward on His Only Son. Mm-hmm. So it was coming down to days before the DCP had to finalize and go out. And one of the engineers here at Angel called me and said, "What do you think about this idea?" And I was like, he's like, "Is it a yes?" And I said, "That is a yes." And and if we can pull this off, that would be amazing. And the team here is brilliant. We have a whole building of engineers and developers, and yeah, they put it together, and we put it out on His Only Son, and it was a huge success. It was a big number, and I think really contributed to how that movie. That was a $250,000 movie, $350,000 movie, and went on to gross, almost, I think, 14.
14 million, by the way, for everyone listening. I mean, fantastic returns on that.
And so I mean, our core components of success are: we do crowdfunding, we build a community of people who are exciting, but really, it all starts back with the Angel Guild, which is right now is a group of 250,000 people who vote on content, like what content's going to go into distribution, what's going to go into theatrical distribution. So once they choose that, then we move into this space where the filmmaker is raising funds to help either promote the movie or make the movie. That builds a community, and then you go to theaters, you feel some ownership. And you get to the end of the movie, and you can pay it forward. It started on our TV shows where people could pay it forward for somebody else to watch the show. Somebody logs in to watch the show, and it says, "Because Joe in Arizona paid it forward, you're able to watch the show." And then at the end, asks if you'd like to pay it forward. So it is pretty simple. I mean, it's like, imagine the Starbucks line, and the guy goes up to the front and says, I want to buy a coffee for the person behind me, and then leaves. And I mean, it's really that simple. So people get to the end of the movie, they can scan a QR code, they can choose how many tickets they want to pay it forward. They pay it forward. That basically puts tickets in a basket. And then people come. Also, we're managing the inflow and the outflow. So then people come and say, "Well, I'd love a free ticket." Mm-hmm. And they say that once they signify to us they want a ticket, they get an email. They take those codes and they take them to the box office. Once they're transacted through the box office, like anybody buying a ticket, then that counts towards the box office. So the theater doesn't know any difference between a ticket that was purchased and a pay it forward ticket that was purchased, because it comes through the same way.
Exactly. I think it's a fascinating innovation when you look at how cinema technology has evolved from being a walk-up business that you show up to an auditorium 30 minutes before showtime. You snake a sweater across like 3 seats. That's how you save the seat to go to the concession stand, and then you go back in. This is a pre-sale business now. This is a data business now. This is a demand business. You can make marketing plans. You can make production plans. You can make occupancy rates known well ahead of time. And I love how you guys are harnessing that. And listen, it's not lost on me that this is coming. These insights are coming from a person that's been working in the movie theater space for many years now. Since you were a teenager, you've been involved with movie theaters. Can you take us back to your personal experience working with theatrical?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town with a single screen theater. It was one of the old Alhambra theaters, and that's where I spent my summers pretty much. At age 14, I went and worked for, I think, a 3-screen building. I think I was 14. I rode my bike to go to work, and but really, my love of movies started is that, like, my family would go to church on Sunday. We'd go hit up a restaurant, and then we'd go to the movies almost every Sunday. It was like a family tradition. We spent so much time in cinemas. But yeah, so I started working in cinemas and fell in love with the cinema. Like the idea that people can come to this place, can escape, can have this experience together, and then having conversations with people as a kid when they'd come out of the movie, that to me was like that was like this, there's something here for me. And also, I've always been fascinated about the posters and trailers, and have collected posters when I was a kid. And so I worked all the way in theaters through school, and ended up kind of my last place I worked was it was a regional theater chain called West States Theaters. They've since sold to Megaplex. And yeah, it was like I was a city manager for a theater chain, and did that for years, and then had kids and thought, I think I need to go to the other side of the box office and work in distribution. So it was a natural progression to kind of move into the distribution space from there.
I keep on saying the softball game between exhibition and distribution is going to have a lot of people switching teams all of a sudden. The designated hitter is going to be just rotating chairs on who ends up playing for who. I love that about this industry, that you have so many people that understand the importance of the life cycle of a film, of how to time something for theaters, how to benefit from that on the streaming side, on the home entertainment side. Of course, Angel Studios being very active on home entertainment as well. But there is a great investment on the theatrical experience. And Angel Studios is the first distributor to have partnered with the Cinema Foundation's Industry Promotion Fund. That was announced at Show East last year. What can you tell us about that partnership, that association, and why you decided to commit and make that commitment with theatrical?
Yeah, we had worked with Brian and his team at the foundation, and Brian is who I called when I was trying to figure out how to get a sponsorship when all sponsorships were sold out for CinemaCon 2023. I was just calling everybody I could, and finally got a hold of him, and he's like, let's work something out. And so he found us like a 3-minute window of time at a breakfast. And so, so he was there, and he's been championing us. And then Sound of Freedom happened. And then he approached us and asked about being a part of National Cinema Day. And you don't have to twist my arm to want to be a part of National Cinema Day. That's my kind of holiday. So we talked to him. He told us about the fund and what what the fund is going to be working, and how it's going to work for theaters and for promotion of the industry. And we saw the vision and decided to make the donation from our proceeds of what came in for National Cinema Day.
So that is an allocation of proceeds from ticket sales of a title from the National Cinema Day celebration of discounted movie tickets. That goes back to the Cinema Foundation for industry promotion activities across theatrical. I think it's a great collaboration. And I love that an independent studio was the first one to stand up and say, we want to be involved. We want to be part of this. And it's a commitment that we've seen not only domestically from Angel Studios, but your commitment to theatrical is now expanded on a global level, starting with the great success of Sound of Freedom overseas. Now, we know this as a national story, a great hit domestically here in North America. But walk me through taking Sound of Freedom outside of the domestic market? Because I'm not sure if that was on your bucket list in 2023, but you guys ended up doing real well.
Yeah, no, I mean, our ambition has been to be able to theatrically release globally. Like that, when they brought me on, our chief distribution officer Jared Giese, like that, well, that's a big important thing to him and to the company. And we have an audience and a loyal following all around the globe, and some of our early shows really brought in a global audience. And so, in helping bringing some of those other properties to different regions, different places in Latin America and the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and around the globe, we started building that infrastructure before I came on, and then with Sound of Freedom, his only son actually did. I'm pretty proud of the box office that it did internationally for the scope of that movie. But then Sound of Freedom, we knew. Like when we signed that movie, we knew that we would have to really get that movie globally in cinemas, and that it had a huge opportunity. And Alejandro Monteverde, I mean, that guy makes movies for the big screen, and we knew that we had to get it on the big screen everywhere we could, and so it was a giant company effort. But yeah, I mean, Latin America, we came in, I think, somewhere around 12 million. Total domestic was 184, and global box office was right around 250 million. So yeah, it was, because of when you have a success like Sound of Freedom and it moves just so fast, like you couldn't stop it if you wanted to. So we marched that around for a long time. We're still opening some markets with Sound of Freedom that wanted to have kind of a separate window with a specific release date. But yeah, it's been great. And all of our other films we've taken internationally, and our ambition is to just continue to build that. In 2025, we have an animated movie called David, and we're really building towards that being a global release at a much bigger scale than we've done even this far.
Going into different genres, but still within the same formula and values that makes Angel Studios work with that council. If you mentioned, hundreds of thousands of people involved in approving films, a built-in audience. I really like that approach that you guys are doing. It's not the same movie over and over again. You guys are really bringing in a diversity along the same theme to audiences worldwide. So let's talk about that, because we're recording this before the CinemaCon and your CinemaCon presentation, but it's airing. The people listening to this either already saw the presentation or heard Rebecca and myself speak about the presentation in our earlier segment where we recap everything that's been going on. So now it's your turn to chat about what everything is in store for those fans of Angel Studios. For everyone that wasn't here at CinemaCon, what can you tell them of what you guys went through on that presentation?
Yeah, so we just released Cabrini. It's in theaters right now. It's we're going into Easter weekend, which will be our fourth weekend in theaters, and we're super excited about how that's performed. Audiences are loving it, and we're excited what it's going to do on Easter weekend. Our next wide release after that is a movie called Sight, and it's going to be a wide release on Memorial Day on May 24th, and it is.
You're not shying against these big dates. There's another major studio blockbuster coming out that day, right? I'm not the first one to bring this up. I love it. You're doubling down on this. I absolutely love this.
So just wait till I tell you all of our dates. So so that's May 24th, and it is a beautiful film, and is already doing in some of our early pre-sale work, even before tickets go on sale. It is selling very well. So tickets will go on sale for that on May 3rd. So during CinemaCon, tickets will already be on sale for that movie. After that, we have on July 4th a movie called Possum Trot coming out. It's a beautiful film. It really shows kind of where Sound of Freedom, they're not a sequel. It's not the same director, but kind of where Sound of Freedom lets you kind of off on that movie. is where Possum Trot kind of starts talking and kind of addressing the foster care system and adoption. And it's about a small town in Texas called Possum Trot, Texas, where a small church came together and helped kind of bring all the children out of foster care situations to forever homes. And the director of that movie, they moved to Possum Trot and lived there to be able to kind of write and make the movie. And it's a beautiful movie. And so it kind of is a perfect companion to showing what the solution might be in this setting. And so we're excited about that one. And then on Thanksgiving, we're releasing Bonhoeffer. It's the story of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and very excited about that. Dietrich Bonhoeffer has been a kind of an inspiration to me, so I'm excited about this movie. But it's a beautifully shot movie, and yeah, we're going on Thanksgiving Day on that movie, and then on Christmas we're releasing a movie called Homestead, which is an end of the world kind of movie, but the tagline's a little different. Like the log line, it's like so many people want to talk about how the world ended, but this is a story about how the world began again. And it's a neat story. Neil McDonough stars in it. It's going to be a powerful film. I think it's going to do a lot of business. And then in 2025 we have a film coming out, Jacob, which is coming from the same director of His Only Son. And then we have our biggest movie, David, this animated musical. It is going to be a big film and a big release for us, and so we're leaning into that. And we're during the presentation we showed some kind of first look footage, so we'll definitely be making that available online as well. But that's our slate, and then we have hundreds of, probably thousands of titles in the Guild being voted on. And we have some titles that are really close. And we have some titles that honestly, I hope that I can make an announcement at CinemaCon that we've signed since between now and when this airs. But yeah, we're ramping up. We want to be doing this year. We have, our ambition is to have 6 films in wide release. And we want to grow from there.
I'm already looking at the Disney release schedule to see when the Star Wars movies come out and the Avatar movies come out to know when your movies are going to come out. You're just basically like circling these dates. I can just see right now. I'm like, all right, when am I going to counter program and hit these marks? It's been working fantastically well with you guys. And I'm really excited, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to hear and see some of that footage of everything that's coming up from Angel Studios. Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for joining us here on the podcast. Before we wrap up, Brandon, I wanted to close by asking the role that Theatrical will play for Angel Studios moving forward, because we know that right now it seems like it's a transition period for a lot of media companies where Theatrical is a fluctuating part of the equation for a lot of companies. For Angel, now that you've had your first CinemaCon presentation at the Coliseum, now that you've had your first near $500 million film worldwide last year, almost, you're a hair short of that mark. What role does Theatrical play for you guys moving into the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a major part. Our ambition again is to get to where we're doing 12 movies a year and being committed to exclusive theatrical window, and to be in partnership with the theaters where they can kind of count on, this is the type of film we're going to bring, this is the audience that we're going to bring, this is how we're going to pre-sell, and kind of building in some cadence to that. And so, I mean, it's a major part of our strategy. Also, the Angel Guild is a major part of our community building. And as we build that, it only reinforces what happens on opening weekend, because we have a dedicated audience. People who are part of the Angel Guild, they get 2 free tickets to every one of the movies that we put out, and they get other access to early content. So Theatrical is key. I mean, we've built our own ticketing engine on our site, and we are one of the first companies to have a direct integration with Atom Tickets, where all the transactions happening on our site. And so I mean, we've built the ticket engine. It's a major amount of work to kind of build, and we've built the pay it forward model. We saw some other people attempt to try to riff on pay it forward this last year, and I think we've got it figured out pretty well. I mean, major investment, and it's a major core of our company, and we're looking into 2025 and 2026 as films are coming to us and already starting to slate. So we're not going anywhere, and our goal is to be able to become a curator in cinema, where the cinema partners, as well as the audience, knows what type of films we're going to bring and how we're going to release them. And our number one objective in the theatrical team is just to be good partners with the exhibitors and have a relationship where we listen to them, they listen to us, and we find what's best for the movie. So I really appreciate you having us on.
Well, thank you so much for your support here, not only of Box Office Pro, but of the entire theatrical exhibition community. And that was Brandon Purdy from Angel Studios joining us here on the Box Office Podcast at CinemaCon. Thank you so much for sticking with us to the end of this episode. It's a long one. We're really excited to bring you all of the highlights from CinemaCon 2024 here. So don't forget to subscribe and listen to these episodes. We're on every single podcast platform. A big thank you to my colleagues Chad Kenrick and Rebecca Pauley. And on behalf of myself, Daniel Loria, I am signing off from the team here at Box Office Pro in Las Vegas. We will talk to you again tomorrow.